Hey everybody, Randy Atkins here, and this is going to be the first edition of my recap / review of the Sailormoon anime series that is being put up incrementally to stream on Neon Alley and on Hulu. There will be links to the Neon Alley page for it down below in the description, so if you've not seen it or you were not aware that it was happening, feel free to go down there. At this point, we're really early in the series and really early in my series of reviewing it / recapping, so a lot of it is going to be more recap than review. If you have any suggestions for this, because this is really my first time doing any sort of review, please do leave a comment down below about that. Constructive criticism is absolutely welcome. So in the first episode, which is called The Crybaby Usagi's Beautiful Transformation, we are introduced to our main character, Tsukino Usagi, who is a 14-year-old second-year middle school student who describes herself as clumsy and kind of a crybaby. So in this episode, we are going to see a lot of things that we sort of see serially throughout the first season at least, which is she wakes up late for school, she has to rush out, she ends up being late for school, so she gets sent to stand out in the hallway. In between there for this episode though, we do see her come across a black cat that some elementary school students are harassing, and she chases them off and sees that they have put bandages on the cat's forehead. She peels the bandages off, which reveals a crescent moon-shaped mark on the cat's forehead, and the cat basically jumps away from her, and that's basically all we see of the cat for right now. Back to her standing in the hallway, her teacher brings her her test, which she has gotten a 30% on, which of course is not very good. So she's really kind of distraught about it. So to kind of cheer her up, her friend Naru, who is a series regular, and we will see her quite a bit, tells her that her mother's jewelry store is having a really big sale. So while all of this is happening, we are introduced to the, as of right now, major bad guy of the first season, which is Queen Beryl. And when we are introduced to Queen Beryl, we are also introduced to Jadeite, who is the person that she is tasking with collecting human energy in the meantime while they are searching for the silver crystal. All of that will, collecting human energy is basically the monster of the day modus operandi for the first season, and we'll see that a lot. The silver crystal is really the main thing that they're after, and the plot involving that will come in later in the season. So then, on their way home from school, Usagi and Naru stop by Osapi, which is Naru's mother's jewelry store, and we see that there are a lot of people there because apparently this is a ridiculously amazing sale. And we find out why that is because it's revealed that Naru's mother is not actually Naru's mother. It's really Morga, which is the Yoma or monster that Jadeite has put in place to steal the human's energy. Usagi doesn't actually have any money, and since she can't really ask her parents for any because she's just gotten a 30% on the test, she ends up going home. She's a little bit dejected, and when she gets home, she decides that instead of doing her homework, she should probably take a nap instead, because that's obviously going to help her 30% test scores. So the cat that we saw earlier sneaks into her room, wakes her up, and after convincing her that she's not dreaming, because the cat, as you probably know if you've seen this, can talk, and her name is Luna, she does a backflip in the air and presents Usagi with a brooch. And then Luna tells her that she is a warrior who is supposed to fight evil and, along with the other guardians, protect the princess. So she tells her to say Moon Prism Power Makeup, which is her transformation phrase for the first season. And so she transforms into Sailormoon for the first time. Just after she transforms, she is able to hear Naru crying for help because Naru has found that her mother is not really her mother. So Luna tells her that she should go fight. So she goes back to Osapi as Sailormoon, and Morga fully reveals herself just as Sailormoon gets there. And Sailormoon bursts in with her iconic introduction, which of course ends in the Tsukini Kawate Oshiokyo. And since this is the first fight that she's ever been in, and this is, our clumsy crybaby Usagi, she really doesn't do very well with it and starts freaking out and running and crying a little. Then the rose streaks through the sky and interrupts the attack, and we are introduced to the mysterious Tuxedo Kamen, or Tuxedo Mask, as you can see here. He does his normal cryptic words of encouragement, but again, this is her first fight, so it doesn't really help. And she starts bawling. But the crying creates a sonic attack, which I believe is only ever used one other time. So that kind of disrupts all of the monsters, kind of dazes them. So she's able to then, after Luna's prompting, use Moon Tiara action, which is where she takes off her tiara. It turns into a glowing disc, and she throws it at the Yoma, which is then destroyed and turned to dust. So she has won her first victory. The second episode was actually one of the episodes that was never dubbed when they originally did it, so a lot of people have probably not ever seen it. It's called I Will Punish You. The House of Fortune is the Monster Mansion, and it's about fortune telling. So basically in this episode, we see a street fortune teller that has a line around the block. Apparently that he's really good at what he does. And we see that Jadeite has sort of done some reconnaissance with this and decided that this is a good plan to collect energy. Later we see Umino and Naru talking. Umino reveals that he has a crush on Usagi. Naru suggests that he go to this new House of Fortune, which has just opened up. She is either always getting in trouble herself or sending other people into trouble, apparently. But, so Umino goes to this House of Fortune and is promptly possessed by Jadeite's Yoma of the day. So we see Umino the next day, and Naru actually reveals to Usagi that Umino has a crush on her but is too shy to say anything. And promptly he comes up and asks her out on a date. He's dressed in a suit, which is a very big deal because this is Japan and everyone has school uniforms, and he was completely out of uniform. So the teacher comes up and asks him what's going on, and then he pulls a sandwich out of his bag and starts eating it. She asks if this is a joke. He walks past her and flips up the back of her skirt and says that that's a joke. She's super embarrassed and cries that no one is going to marry her now, because apparently that's a big deal in Japan. Not really sure. But as the episode progresses, we see that most of the boys in Usagi's class have visited this House of Fortune and been possessed, and are basically running amok. Terrorizing the teacher, throwing rocks through windows. Then Umino basically tries to steal a kiss from Usagi, or force a kiss on Usagi, I guess, and she is not having it. She starts crying, and similar to the previous episode, it kind of freaks out all of the guys, and they're like, okay, bye. So they leave. Luna comes up to Usagi with the hunch that there is dark energy at work and that she thinks the boys are being controlled. Usagi says that she thinks it's probably the House of Fortune because they all have gone there. And Luna says that that is a great deduction, and Usagi asks if she can have a new item as a reward. So they go to the House of Fortune. They find the Yoma. She busts in. So then, similar to the previous episode, she sicks all the boys on Usagi who are being controlled. And this attack is halted again by Tuxedo Kamen, who throws his rose, as one does, which gives her the opportunity to, again, use Moon Tiara action and destroy the Yoma and release the boys from their mind control. The end of the episode is kind of funny because Umino is basically just completely scandalized as he's being told by Naru all of the things that he did the previous day. that part's a little bit funny to me. So, I mean, overall, as an episode that wasn't dubbed, I think the only reason that it wasn't is because, I mean, maybe they were afraid of the occult references, because they're tarot cards that the Yoma uses to control the boys. It's the devil tarot card, but I don't know. So on to episode 3, which is called The Mysterious Sleeping Sickness, Protect the Girls in Love. So this episode opens with Usagi and Naru separately listening to a late night radio show where people send in love letters that they have written to people for them to read over the air. It's called Midnight Zero. The letter that's being read is sent in by someone named Haruna the Dreamer. I haven't actually mentioned it in this, but Haruna is the name of Usagi's teacher. Come to find out, it actually is her teacher who has written this letter. So the next day at school, Usagi is, of course, running late, as always. But she is saved by the fact that when she gets there, Haruna Sensei is not there yet. She does eventually come in, but she is completely exhausted. She's wearing a flower brooch, which is what is given as a prize by Midnight Zero for people whose letters are read. You may be able to guess, but Midnight Zero is run by Jadeite, and he's using the flower brooches to collect energy. So Usagi and Naru are talking about Midnight Zero, and Naru mentions that she has actually submitted several letters. Usagi asks if she has a boyfriend because she didn't think that she did, and she said that she was writing letters to her future boyfriends. So that gives Usagi the idea that that's what she should do. So she goes home and sits down and tries to write a letter, but is not able to. So she decides she is going to go and ask the DJ of Midnight Zero, who has cleverly used the name of J. Daito, for some tips on writing the letter. So she goes to the station, and the station says that there's no such show. So she's angry, goes back home, and she and Luna wait until midnight and listen, and Midnight Zero comes on. So they're listening to the show, and Jay Daito reads a letter from Naru. And so the next day at school, Naru has received her flower brooch. So all of the girls gather around while she opens it, and Usagi points out that that's the same flower that Haruna Sensei was wearing. And so after Naru pins the flower brooch on, it does its thing and absorbs her energy, and she falls asleep. I did forget to mention up to this point that there was a sort of exposition line where apparently people have been coming down with this mysterious sleeping sickness where they basically fall asleep and don't wake up. And Haruna Sensei, after she came in all exhausted, had basically fallen asleep and not been able to wake up. So she was actually taken out in an ambulance. But like I said, the flower does its thing and Naru collapses. Usagi gets a little bit too close and it absorbs a little bit of her energy, so she falls asleep also. But she's not wearing the brooch, so it doesn't actually sap that much energy from her. So Luna is able to wake her up, and basically they realize that this is another plot to steal energy, so they go down to FM 10, the radio station, at midnight to confront Jay Daito. And so this is the episode where Luna gives Usagi a new item, the disguise pen. That is one of the things that I do not have as far as actually having the toys of, but I would really like to have it. So she turns herself into a news reporter and sneaks into the station. She basically walks right into the studio as Jadeite is reading a letter and sits down and warns everyone that the flower brooches are dangerous and not to touch them. The Yoma from the episode does not like that very much, crashes through the window and attacks her. So she eventually transforms, they fight, etc., etc. Moon Tiara action. She throws it, misses the Yoma. But in this episode, it's revealed that she can actually control the flight of the tiara and swings it back around to hit the Yoma from behind and destroys the Yoma. Then Jadeite comes out. She tries to use Moon Tiara action on him, and he is able to actually stop the tiara. She starts getting a little apprehensive about this because it's not supposed to happen. But then here comes the rose, and Jadeite seems to recognize it. It's a little strange. He seems to recognize it and knows that it's not something he wants to mess with. So he actually takes his leave, and that's basically the end of this episode. All right, so episode 4 is really an episode that I do kind of have feelings about the overall plot of. This actually was described by one of my friends as the fat shaming episode, and it really is. It's really not a very healthy image to portray to young children. So I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about this episode overall. But this episode is called Learn to Be Skinny from Usagi. So in this episode, at the beginning, Usagi is taking a bath. After she steps out, she weighs herself and freaks out because she has put on some weight. So basically, after her parents say that, well, when you eat as much as you do and you don't really exercise, of course you're going to gain weight. So she is lamenting her situation with her friends at lunch, and Naru mentions that she has noticed Haruna-sensei actually looking kind of fit lately, and Umino, of course, shows up with like before and after pictures that actually show that Haruna-sensei has actually lost quite a bit of weight and toned up. So they basically bully Umino into revealing how he got the pictures, but really all that Usagi wants to know is what Haruna-sensei has been doing to lose this weight. She's been going to a gym called Shaperin, and so the girls go there, and surprise, they're offering free memberships. If it's not obvious, Shaperin is run/taken over by Jadeite. So the girls work out with the help of some trainers, but Usagi, it's a little bit much for her, so she actually sneaks off to like a whirlpool bath. And so the other girls finish their workouts, and Jadeite takes them off to what he calls the Shape Ray, which he says is basically the secret to everyone's success who goes to Shaperin. And this is Jadeite taking them into these sort of organic looking pods where, as you shouldn't be surprised, he drains their energy. So Usagi's actually complaining that she got ditched, but on her way home, she actually, as she's walking by the Crown Game Center, she stumbles and almost falls, but she's caught by Motoki, who basically says that he doesn't really think super skinny girls look that great, that he likes, for lack of a better way to put it, he likes girls with a little meat on their bones, so to speak. I think the subtitles that they use are he likes curvy girls better than skinny bony ones. I don't know if that's really the best way to say that either. And I'm not even talking from a translation standpoint. I'm talking from again, message to send standpoint. But this is such a, I don't know. This episode is a little hard for me to talk about, especially because I have body image issues. And so stuff like this, I don't know. But anyway, so Usagi, after having heard this, she's actually not eaten anything because she's on a diet to try to lose weight. So having heard that Motoki likes girls who have a little meat on their bones and aren't super skinny, she goes and basically goes overboard with Nikuman. So Luna finds Usagi and tells her that Haruna-sensei has been acting strangely and that she's actually just dropped a ton of weight really fast and is really starting to look, way too skinny. So that makes Usagi remember Shaperin, And so since she has just sort of gorged herself on Nikuman, decides that she needs to go work some of it off. So they go there, and as she goes to exercise, Luna goes to investigate. So Luna actually sees Haruna Sensei walking by, and follows her down to the room with the shape ray, and overhears Jadeite basically saying that this is probably the last time they're going to be able to drain energy from her because she's going to die. And this is one of the things that really makes me think that, you know, Japanese people aren't so protective of their kids. Like, they're not afraid to show their kids like villains trying to kill people. I don't know. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, I will leave you to form your own opinion. It's just an observation that I am making. So Luna goes to get Usagi, has her transform into Sailormoon, and they go down and rescue Haruna Sensei. So Jadeite leaves to take the energy he has already collected to Queen Beryl, and as we've seen in the past, he has the trainers who are being mind controlled attack Sailormoon. So Luna points out that they're not actually monsters, that they are being controlled by the headbands that they're wearing, and that she should try to destroy them with Moon Tiara action. So she's trying to do that, but she's not doing a very good job of basically getting herself open to do it. Then Luna mentions that she's probably going to lose weight from the exercise of fighting them, and then she's all about it. So she's punching and kicking and fighting, and then she does her thing, Moon Tiara action, breaks all the headbands off, and basically, once again, saves the day. Then we see Usagi once again in the bath, gets out, weighs herself, and freaks out because, again, she has gained weight. Now, this is a situation where I think the dub handled it pretty well, because at the end of this, Usagi's brother Shingo is standing right outside the bathroom door, and the dub changed it so that he had tampered with the scale so it would read heavier. The original Japanese version doesn't say anything about that. I don't know if it's supposed to be implied that that's what happened because he was waiting outside the door. I don't know. But again, like, I have so many weird feelings about this episode because it really is very fat-shamey, and I'm not about that. So those are the first 4 episodes. I apologize for this being as long as it was. As one of my friends commented on my intro video, I probably am just gonna do these in groups of 4, unless this is just way too ridiculously long. Then I will probably do it every 2. But that's all I've got for you for this time. So don't forget to subscribe down below so you won't miss any of my videos. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any suggestions, questions, concerns, please leave it in the comments below. That is all I've got for you today, so I will see you later, everybody. But so